Hey, everybody. I'm glad we finally got on the same page. Uh, I guess YouTube is ticked off at me. I don't know why. For reasons that I have absolutely no explanation for, I had all the stuff set up, and suddenly YouTube decided to just kick my stuff off. So I had live stream set up for all week, and it went through and deleted them all. I have no idea why. So, hi, Linda. You're logged in, or you wouldn't be able to comment. So I see you there. What in the world? So yeah, so I'm just having a great time here with all of the technology stuff. Just having super big bunches of fun. Thank you all for humoring me. I hope everybody is able to find their way over. I sent out the text message. Apparently, y'all got it, and we're all here. I'm waiting. Mike and Tina texted me. I hope Mike and Tina show up. So. All right, send out a text message. Yeah, I was away from my. I was out of the office most of the afternoon, so I forgot to set up a link. So I set it up and sent it out, and then YouTube decided today was the day to just start deleting stuff. So I got dumped by YouTube. And hey, Mike and Tina, glad you're here. And now I'm back. So all right, good deal. Hi, Amy. Glad you made it. All right. Hi, Sherry. Oh, Mike and Tina, you are here. I see you're way up here. Hi, Eric. Joyce Koenig is in the house. That way the party can get started. Hi, Linda Horn. Hi, Margie and Doug. Marcia and Joe. Man, the Bowmans are totally owning this YouTube thing. I am so proud of them. Hey, Scott Moran. Glad you made it too. Did you get my email? You emailed me. I emailed you back. So, hi, Jan. Glad the Morans are here. Hey, Suze. Hey, Parker. Tim and Candy are definitely in the house tonight. Hi, Linda Burkholder. Glad you're here. Daryl's here. Thank you. Hi, Marge. Linda Burkholder, you're still logged in because I can see your name here. Trina is here. Hi, Beth and Carl. Scott Moran, you will be getting email with him from me because I sent it to you. So. And Amy is now sending virtual hugs to people, and that's awesome. So, very good. What is this? So, all right. Hi, Linda. Yes, you're here. So, all right, everybody. Glad you're all logged in tonight. I read the chapter tonight, chapter 11. I found chapter 11 to be interesting. So before I even say a word about it, chapter 11 is about sharing your faith. And I know not everybody has the book, and that's cool. But for any of you who do have the book and may have read the chapter, I'm mildly curious as to what you thought of it. Just a general opinion of what you thought of this chapter. Anybody who has the book want to comment? If not, that's okay. I'm just curious what y'all thought of it. If anybody thought anything of it. Yeah, hello. This is why I love this online stuff. Hi, Teresa Bitters. Hi, Jess Mack. Glad you guys are here. Amy misses Susan. Amy misses you. Hi, Val. The book was about sharing your faith. Yes, Suze, I found that sentence to be very, very not what I expected. Yeah. Oh, I'm all for sharing your faith, but I had a little bit of trouble with the way he came at this. I kind of feel the same way about this chapter as I felt about the prayer chapter from a little bit ago that we read. Again, I'm a big proponent of prayer. I'm also a humongous proponent of sharing your faith. I'm just not 100% sure I'm down with what he's talking about here. Oh, Val, we all know you do, and you do it as well as anyone I've ever seen. But I just, I'm not. We're gonna have a good conversation these next 2 nights because this is a topic that I don't want to say I struggle with it because I feel like I share my faith all the time. I just don't have to talk about it all the time. And Scott and I watched a movie last night that fit perfectly with last night on Money. The Ultimate Gift, a very good movie. I have not seen The Ultimate Gift. Anybody here seen The Ultimate Gift? Where did you watch it? Did you watch it on DVD or did you watch it on Netflix or what'd you watch it on? Yeah, sharing your faith is multifaceted. I just, yeah. Oh, Val, you're certainly welcome. Margie and Doug have apparently seen that movie, Jan. I don't think that I know it, so, um, but good. Um, one of the things I've seen on YouTube is they have these things called watch along parties where everybody starts watching the movie and then there's a YouTube video that goes with it. If it was with me, I would comment on the movie while you guys all watch it. So it would be here and I would have the movie on a different screen over there. And so we would be watching at the same time and I can make comments on it and stuff. That might be fun to do sometime. Maybe next winter when the weather's bad. We'll have watch along party with Pastor Tim and we'll all watch a movie and I'll tear it apart and tell you how awful it is and stuff because that's what we do on YouTube. But if we could do that sometime, would you guys like that? We could have what's called a watch along party where I'll watch a movie and you guys can watch the same movie, and I could comment on it as we go. I'm deciding if I would want to do like a movie that we all loved or a movie that's so terrible that I could make some horrible comments about it. I don't know which way I want to go about that because tearing apart a really bad movie would be fun too, but I don't know. But that is something I've seen a few YouTubers do, and I think that as a world famous YouTube content creator such as myself, that could be fun to do. So, maybe we'll do that sometime. Maybe we won't do a whole movie. Maybe we'll do a TV show, but it's one we all have to have access to. So, oh yeah, we ain't doing it without popcorn. I'll tell you that right now. And yeah, it would be fun to get a really horrible movie and I could just absolutely eviscerate it. That would be pretty fun too. So, I got my wheels turning now. So, no Halloween movies are left. Deal. I don't watch horror movies ever, so that we're not doing anything like that. It would be a family friendly movie. Whatever we did, maybe we could do like The Incredibles or something. I like The Incredibles. I don't know any current movies. Well, I guess there aren't any current movies, but that might be fun to do sometime. I don't know. We'll think about that. All right. Well, let's yeah, Amy, no worries. We're not doing Halloween movies. I only watch movies with heroes. If there's not somebody in the movie I can root for, I don't want to watch it. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. So, all right. Yeah. All right. So we're on chapter 11. And, oops, what have I just done here? Wish I could turn for some reason, it used to show me what page I'm on. But for some reason, the page numbers are no longer on my tablet. And that was really awesome when it used to do that. So, all right. So here we are. I'm on page, 195. When you believe in God, but don't share your faith. And that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. So, he opens up with a story that every pastor has been a part of at some point or another, without exception. You can't be a pastor for more than 15 minutes without something like this happening. And that is somebody has a family member who is ill in the hospital, not doing well, something going on. And, of course, they don't like pastors. They never go to church. They're not connected. But this family member is concerned about them. So instead of going to talk to them themselves, they send the pastor in to, in the final hour, literally, to try to do something here. So so this is something that I've had to do many times. You're going in to meet somebody, and look, nobody on their deathbed is going to say, "Well, I don't believe in God. What are you doing here?" I mean, nobody's going to say that. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, and whether it's even sincere or not. So this is a difficult place for pastors to get into. Again, an important place to be able to get in and have a conversation. But again, having done this many times, this is how he is. Now it says in there that not only did this man who was sick, what was their father? Not only was he sick, but they also, he's skeptical of pastors. Any idea why he would be skeptical of pastors? The pastor asks, "What makes people skeptical of pastors?" I don't know, but I'm just curious. What do you think makes people skeptical of pastors? What would make somebody decide that pastors are somebody not to be trusted? Hey, Christina, glad to see you here tonight. What is it that makes people skeptical of pastors? And don't worry about hurting my feelings. I'm sure I've already heard it. They're human. That's right. We hate the human part of those guys. Matt Clements, that's the way to crush that. That's good. Okay, a bad previous experience. Mm-hmm. And care to be more specific? Anybody, not just Candy. Some don't live as they speak. That's true. A lot of TV pastors are crooks. Two people simultaneously say televangelists. It makes me wonder if they read this chapter, because we're about to talk about them. They don't want to put judgment on themselves. True. People you see on TV take your money with a fake gospel. Parker's dropping a truth bomb there in the chat tonight, so that's good. Yeah, and all these and many more. Some people have had experiences with specific pastors in their church. I mean, there are some pastors who are judgmental, and let me tell you something. There are also some parishioners who are judgmental. So there's a lot of different ways this can go, and to cause people to feel this way, and it makes you, makes you wonder why this daughter would send a pastor in to talk to her dad, and what ended up being the final day of his life, when he has a skepticism of pastors for whatever reason. I mean, if the guy didn't like bus drivers, would you send a bus driver in to talk to him in the final day of his life? Would you ask for a school teacher if he had a bad experience with school teachers? Would you ask school teacher to go and see him? Garbage collectors, politician? Would you ask any of those guys? No. But the pastor is somebody that is often sent into that situation. There's a lot of situations, and I know a couple of you who have had experiences in the chat here, serving churches, Candy and Scott. That there's a lot of situations where you're the Hail Mary pass, hoping beyond hope that something miraculous can happen by sending you into this situation. And let's not kid ourselves. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody to go into a hospital room to somebody who's, for whatever reason, not feeling well, and expect to turn things around. Hi, Cheryl. Glad to see you tonight. And expect things to just turn around. That's a lot of pressure. And anybody who's served a church for, like I said, for more than 15 minutes has had the chance to go do that. So now Craig, he goes on to say that he has always struggled with hospital calls. Hospital visits have always made him uncomfortable, and it's something that he doesn't, it's not one of his strengths. I would certainly second that. That's not something I feel particularly gifted at either. Honestly, and I hate to say this, but I've never really seen the point of it. I don't understand why that's a thing. I know a lot of people like to see the pastor, but let me tell you something. If I'm in the hospital, I want to see a doctor. I want to see a nurse. I want to see whoever's passing out the popsicles. That's who I want to talk to. And that's who I want to talk to. Pastor, if my district superintendent wants to pray for me, that's wonderful. He can do that from his house. I would much rather talk to people, because I one of the things I always feel bad about when I go into a hospital room is you go in there and somebody's feeling bad and they feel like they have to engage with you. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I go. I'm simply here to say I care about you, no matter how inadequate I may feel at the moment. But that's why I go in. But when I'm sick and I'm not feeling well, the last thing I want to do is have to entertain somebody. So that's why I always struggle with that. But anyways, Craig was asked to go. He went. And Scott, my question would be exactly the same. If the daughter had something specific she wanted to talk to dad about, why didn't she do it? That's a very good question because it became a lot better coming from her. And that's a lesson to the 34 of you who are logged in here tonight. If there's a conversation that needs to happen, don't let a stranger go do that. Somebody that the pastor doesn't even or doesn't know the pastor. Those are conversations that family members need to have. So, oh, Joyce, you're welcome. And I wasn't saying that I don't like to do it. I just feel horribly inadequate in those moments. But thank you for that. So it's a burden, and like I said, the couple of you who serve churches in here, what that's like, and I've been a part of conversations about turning machines off and stuff like that, and that's stuff that stays with you. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Marge, and I know a lot of people feel that way. I just just I feel like so much of a screwball sometimes. I don't know why people feel that way, but I'm just trying to help, and if my being there helps, then that's certainly what I want to do. Maybe she's tried without success. Okay, but if she's tried without success, I don't have any idea why she would want to listen to a complete stranger. But again, I'm not faulting. That's a desire she had. She asked, and Craig was happy to go do that. Now he does do some funny things here where and there are some pastors out there. Honestly, Lynn Huffman's one of them, who is just dynamic in those kind of situations. Just brilliant, gifted, pastoral, gentle. Always saying the right thing. Lynn Huffman, he is the man. In these kind of situations, and so I can see Lynn being one of these guys who could walk into those situations and just bring the house down in a very good way. But where I'm more on Craig's thing, where Craig has a hard time not speaking his mind, and the last thing you want to hear your pastor say when he shows up in the hospital room is say, "Wow, you don't look very good." Yeah, never say that. Never, under any circumstances, ever say that. So, yes, yeah, who doesn't love Lynn Huffman? Let's be entirely honest with that. Cheryl, yes, sometimes it does facilitate discussion. That is absolutely true. Having the pastor there. A lot of times what people do, especially at end of life decisions, is they look at somebody like the pastor and want her or him to not grant permission, but bless. I don't know. I don't know what word to use, but they're looking for affirmation from that person to say it's okay to do this. And yes, it is okay to have to make those hard decisions. It's awful, but don't feel guilt about that. So, Teresa, maybe so. Again, I'm not trying to attack or defend anything here. I'm just saying that I understand where Craig's coming from. That's a very intimidating thing to do. So, yeah, everybody loves. Who doesn't love Pastor Lynn? Honestly, if you can't love Lynn Huffman, you really should go have your pulse checked. So, yep. Hey, Ange, glad you're here. So, yeah. Lynn Huffman is about as much of the salt of the earth as you can honestly get. I've known Lynn I've known him for like 20 years because he was down near where I started way back in the day, and I remember meeting him when I was at my very, very first church, and he's just been wonderful the whole time. He was actually at Forest Park for a while I was there, and then we had I kind of followed him around my whole career, and I got nothing but the utmost respect for the guy. So, but yeah. So he goes in to have a conversation with this man. And the guy seems legitimately glad to have company, even if it's one of these, pastor guys. But he, so they have a conversation, talk about baseball and football and guy stuff, and he goes on. And okay, so I'm halfway down on page 196. He says there, the perfect moment to transition the conversation to a spiritual issue never came, and I decided not to force it. What do you guys think? Did he do the right thing? Was he wrong not to try to force a conversation? Was that the wrong or the right thing to do, to decide that we're just going to have a friendly conversation and leave it at that? Was that the wrong thing to do or the right thing to do? What do you think? Thank you, Teresa. You only say that because you don't know Lynn, let me tell you. What do you guys think? Was it wrong? Was it wrong or right for Craig not to kind of shoehorn in the Jesus pitch? What do you guys think? Okay, I got 3 people. I got 4 people here who think it was the right thing to do. 5 people. This is exactly how I would have handled it. So whatever you think about what happened here, this is exactly how I would have handled it. Okay, so Teresa thinks she brought it. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just telling you this is how I would have done it. Now, Lynn Huffman, if Lynn would have been in there, he would have saved the guy, had the guy saved, and half the hospital staff saved all at the same time, because that's just, that's just Lynn. But see, Candy, that's the other side of it. And again, you have a legitimate point. I'm gonna give that to you. I'm just telling you. Okay, so Parker thinks he should have went in for it too. The way I would have handled this, just for me, is I wouldn't have done. I mean, we're going to use a diving analogy here. I wouldn't have done a cannonball, but I would have dipped my toe in the water. At some point in the conversation, I would have said something to the effect of, "Now your daughter's a little concerned about where you are with Jesus. Can we talk about that?" If he clams up, conversation's over. But I if I went to all the trouble of going all the way in there at the daughter's request, which like I said, done many times, I probably would have approached it that way and said, your daughter, I would have said her name, whatever her name is concerned about you. What can I tell her? And if it's one of these things where death was imminent, which, I mean, I don't know how shocking his death was. Clearly things were not going well. I would have said, I'd have been straightforward with the guy. I'd have said, odds are real good I'm going to be doing your funeral in a few days, and I'd like to know what you'd like said. I mean, sometimes you just got to come right out and say it. And I have said that to people before. Things are not looking good here, and I need something to say to the congregation. What would you like said? And open the door that way. And that's the way I probably would have done it if I felt that was imminent. After a while, and I know, Cheryl, you can back me up on this, you sort of get a nose for these things when the end is coming. When you're around it enough, you kind of know. I've been called out, and I'll run up to the hospital for somebody who's dying, and I'll walk in, and within 5 minutes, I'll say, this person is not dying. And they're like, no, not going to happen. And I'm right almost every time. You sort of get a nose for when it's at the end. And other times you'll walk in and all of a sudden you'll get this dread and you'll be like, oh dear. And you just, the hair on the back of your neck stands up and you just get a nose for it. I can't explain it. I don't know what it is, but just when you're around it enough, you just know. And if I'd have walked in and the dread would have been there and I felt bad, I'd probably been 100 times more. I don't know if aggressive is the right word, because you all know being aggressive is not a problem for me, but I definitely would have broached the topic. But if I went in there and thought I still had a few more days, and maybe, and I have been wrong. Um, no, Matt Clements, you do not want that kind of nose. Let me tell you that right now. You do not want that. It's a horrible curse to have, but you develop that over time. Hospice nurses, you develop this kind of sense, and it's awful. It's one of the many gifts I have that I give back if I could. But when you're around it, you see it. And so, anyways, that's the way I would have approached the topic. Is just I'd like to say I would like to say. You don't have a relationship to a pastor. Your daughter apparently likes me, so I'm probably be the one asked. I'd like to say what you'd like said, and I to me, I don't find that as disrespectful or pushy at all. I find that as me showing respect. Now, again, you may not see it that way, and nobody likes to say, "Oh my word, you better hurry up with this because you don't have much time." I mean, nobody wants to hear that, but and that's it's one of those things. But and that's the way I would approach it. Now, any of you who read the chapter know, Craig comes back the next day and the man has passed away. So and he felt guilty about that. But one of the things that that Craig says in the next chapter, and now I'm on page. So you have to go to this different screen to find out what page I'm on. 197. He says, "I missed the chance to impact Frank's eternity." Did he? Did he miss the chance? And again, that's an opinion question. I have my opinion on it. You can have yours. But here's the deal. And this is where things get real difficult. And this is part of the issue I had with the chapter is about the blessing of presence, Scott and Val. That's exactly right. And oh, Cheryl, yes, it totally changed my approach. Normally, I try to develop a relationship, but sometimes you don't have the time. That's true. I usually do find a way to bring up what their beliefs are. And that's a conversation that people in that situation probably want to have. He's going to touch on that a little later in the chapter about how people are legitimately open to having spiritual conversations. And I think that's true. I've noticed that about people. They're open to it, especially if they find out you're not going to browbeat them with anything. And we won't get to this part of the chapter until tomorrow night, but I will say that the approach that he gives in this chapter about how you testify to other people, I'm sorry, is way off. It's way off. So that's and we're gonna have a long discussion about that tomorrow night because I think what he presents in this chapter is way off on that one. But we're not going to get to that till tomorrow night. So that's spoiler alert. That's what we're going to get to tomorrow. But I think that he does a lot with feeling guilty about something here that I'm not sure is right. Tina and Mike, I have a problem with him feeling guilty for not helping some of their salvations, like the case of the story in the book. Yeah, he's sort of. Okay, Cheryl, I think you've hit the heart of the issue here. They're receptive to the questions. They're receptive to the conversation. They're not receptive to being preached to. I say that as a preacher. When you come, I think our attendance here at Wayne, now obviously with COVID-19, everything's screwed up, but under normal circumstances, whatever those are anymore, if we were coming to church as normal, I think people at Wayne Street who come to this church, the 350 or so that we used to have in attendance here, I think they would be very turned off if I didn't allow people to ever disagree with me. That's been my experience. Nobody has a problem disagreeing with me ever. And I think that's part of my personality that I allow that because a lot of pastors would never allow that. Look, you don't want to agree with me? Fine. You want to come tell me I'm wrong? Let's do this. And I think that's how people learn. I'm not afraid to have people disagree with me. People disagree with me on a freaking minute by minute basis sometimes, especially here lately. And I think that that's okay. It's okay to have conversation, especially around theological issues, because I can't say nobody. we as adults, as high functioning adults that we all 37 of you logged in here tonight are, you don't learn as well having me dictate to you. I think the reason that you all enjoy the format we're using right here is because of the back and forth. And I'm totally cool with that. I'm pretty sure our attendance here at these evening sessions would have bottomed out if this was nothing but an hour-long presentation of every piece of wisdom Pastor Tim has to put forth. That would be poor. I wouldn't even enjoy that. But it's the give and take that I think you guys enjoy, as well you should. And I think because in theological matters and theological issues and theological questions, that's what people are looking for, is the legitimate conversation, not a dictation. And he sets this up really well just to absolutely fumble the ball in what he does tomorrow. I'm going to go back and reread stuff for tomorrow night, because I think I missed it because that's a far cry from where he's at now. And so anyways, yeah. Conversation and discussion leads to growth and knowledge. Yes, and here's the deal. Not just for you, but for me as well. I've learned an immense amount over these 3 months we've been doing these things. I've learned an incredible amount from the books we've read, from the Bible characters that we've looked at. I mean, we've read 2 books and studied, 3 Bible characters, I think. I've learned a lot through this. I wouldn't have learned nearly as much because I learned from you guys. This interaction here is very valuable to me. And even if we all come across and I'm like, I don't know about that, even in those things, we're all learning. And even if I say something completely off the wall to see if I can get a response from you guys, I do that because it's in the conversation that we all learn. So Parker says, my favorite conversation is theological. I love the knowledge. Dude, you have a bright future in front of you, for one thing, Parker. But the second thing I want to say is you have that is a great thing to do, because what you're doing is you're taking the best of what I have to offer. You're taking the best of what the other 35 people who are logged in here tonight have to offer. You're leaving the rest, and that's what turns knowledge into wisdom. And everybody here gets to do that. And that's very important. So, Tim Dickey, how much do you believe deathbed and foxhole conversions impact a person's eternity? Oh my gosh. Oh boy, you're gonna make me say this, aren't you? I say very little. I say very little. And the reason I say very little, here's the question, just make sure I said it. Tim Dickey asked me, how much do you believe deathbed and foxhole conversions impact a person's eternity? I say very little. And the reason I say very little is because if that, that high pressure conversion, which is what Tim's talking about here, if that high pressure conversion is the difference between what happens in your eternity, that's not grace. And buddy, I'm not a fighting man, but I will say that I will go down fighting for grace the whole way, which is a dumb sentence in the first place. But if it takes that, if we're saying a person on their deathbed who is, getting ready to make a great confession and dies in the middle of it, well, I guess you're going to hell. That's a works righteousness. That's what Craig's going to talk about here in a little bit when he talks about this script he had to memorize for seminary. For God's sake, people, don't ever do this. And that's the point he's going to make too. Don't ever do that. Because if you could say the magic words, if you could say rubber baby bubby bunkers a bunch of times and see, I didn't even get through it there. I mean, that's the same thing. Can you solve a Rubik's Cube? Can you, drive a stick shift? How much blood did you donate in your life? That's no different than a I confess Christ as my Savior at the last 3 seconds of your life. That's a works righteousness format. That's not grace. And I will fight grace down to the last man, because that's the principle upon which God has set the system on. Without grace, nothing else works. Period. I mean, there's no more conversation to even have. If we don't allow grace to do its thing, then I don't know what we got. How many people are mad at me now? Let's see here. I wonder if it's easier for me to discuss faith in life because I'm not a pastor. I'm not an authority, so as not as intimidating. You still got that DR in front of your name there, Cheryl. I think for you it might be easier because, well, first of all, you understand the end of life crisis that people go through much better than most. That's obviously true. But I think also you've built up trust with your patients a little more than a pastor who's never met a person walking into the room would. That's automatically going to get you more trust in a situation that needs as much trust as it can possibly get. Marcia says, the thief on the cross with Jesus was told by Jesus he would be in heaven that day with him. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. How long was that true? Is my question. How long was it true that thief was going to be in paradise with Jesus that very day? Was that true the last 5 minutes of his life? Or the last 2 minutes of his life? Or was it also true before that and Jesus was recognizing the truth as he and the thief spoke? I don't know. I mean, that's out for debate, because I have no way to know that. But that's one way to look at it. I know I'm borderline on universalism, but we're going to talk about hell in a minute. And I have have no fear. I have a very distinct and hardcore belief in hell. I believe it exists. I believe it is a horrible place. And my life is to make hell as empty a place as humanly possible in every way that I can. And when we get to the hell discussion, we're going to have a hell of a discussion. And so we're going to get there. But I think that hell is actually a more frightening place, not a less frightening place than we think it is. And because we have built it into a well, we're going to talk about that when we get there. So don't leave this chat tonight thinking, well, Tim don't believe in hell. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Very, very distinctly. And I want people not to be there. And I do not think that hell is an after you die thing. I think hell is a possible current thing. We're going to get to that. I don't want to get too far ahead because we got a few more things to deal with here. Okay. Let's see here. Red Cross got some B negative blood from Val today. They got some O positive from me. So, sure, I believe God wants us to accept him as our savior so he can change our hearts. Yes. Transformation by grace. The moment that grace transforms you, that's what we're looking for. That is the ticket out of hell, is transformation by grace. I promise we're going to get to that. Romans 10:9 doesn't stipulate a timetable for your salvation. Yeah, time is a this world construct. Time is a human thing. In the spiritual realm, time is irrelevant. So, yes, that transformation will lead to a testimony. No doubt about that, Sherry. Val also believes in hell. Parker says, I think a change of heart is what God wants. Let me get to the discussion on hell, Parker, and you and I are going to agree fully. Yep, and Sherry's there too. Good. Scott says, I'm glad God makes those decisions and not me. Can we get a what up for Scott Moran? Because I could not possibly agree with you more than that statement. This is God's problem, not mine. Thank God for that. And there's a lot of people in this world who ought to be real glad that God don't take a day off and let Tim be God for a day, because, whoo, boy, Pastor Tim might be a nice guy, but he does not deal in grace. I'll tell you that right now. That's God's thing, not my thing. I am not a dispenser of grace. I am a dispenser of fairness and justice, and that's not grace. So that's something that we all want to really watch out for. So that's why I'm perfectly happy. Earlier in my life, I wanted to take over God's job because I thought I could do it better. But I'm at the age now where I look and I say, you know what? I'd much rather have God deal with this than me because I have no idea. I'm not afraid to say that I have no idea because there's a lot of stuff going on that I have no idea. And there's a lot of things going on that people remind me that I have no idea also, but that's a whole different story. So, all right. One of the things he talks about here is where does this bad reputation for people come from? And he talked about televangelists. I'm just reading this because I thought it was hilarious. He says this magazine, what was it? The Day America Told the Truth is a book, apparently. They did a survey rating 73 professions. He said, and telemarketer was one of the available 73 professions to vote on. Televangelists came out of 73, came up, what would this be? 71st. The only two careers in America that's right, Tim Dickey. We do not want to have a Tim Almighty. That's right. Out of the 73 professions, televangelists came in 71st. The only two professions to come in behind that are organized crime members and drug dealers. Those are the only two professions out there that scored lower on the scale than televangelists. And I tell you what I know about televangelists, that actually is an insult to organized crime members and drug dealers, if you ask me. So, oh, yeah. Yes, Scott. I've often thought I'd like to get in a fist fight with Satan, too, because I may not win, but I give him one heck of a fight, let me tell you. I hate him passionately. I've seen what he does, and I am his mortal declared enemy in all things. And there's nothing that gets me fired up more than thinking about stomping his face in the ground. In fact, I've always said, besides grace, the one thing that I want from God, if God would come to me and say, Tim, is there anything I can do for you? If he came to me like Solomon, the only other thing I would ask for from God besides grace is on the day that God breaks the teeth of that great serpent, I'd like to be in the front row. That's it. To watch him get pounded and thrown into the fiery furnace for 1,000 years, I would just like to have a front row seat. That's the only other thing I'd ask for, because I have watched him do some of the most heinous, awful things that if I had half a chance, I would kill him if I could. I would do to him what Moses did to the Egyptian slave driver we talked about on Sunday. Is that a good idea? Nope. But I am his mortal enemy. And every time, not every time, but whenever something comes along, when I have an opportunity to step up in a big way, maybe before a major funeral or a an Emmaus talk or a some kind of big thing. Not every Sunday, but when there's a big thing that I've got going on, one of the last things I say before I go on is, Satan, I'm about to make you sorry you haven't killed me yet. That's what I say. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm about to make you more sorry that you let me live, because that is my plan. And I take that very seriously. So, and it's all about revenge for the awful things I've seen him do, one thing in particular. And I'll never get tired. I'll never give up. I'll never slow down. There's only one way I'm going to stop, and Satan and I have had that conversation before, and so far he hasn't taken me up on that yet. So that's how that goes, and that's something I would that's just how I feel about it, I guess I'll say. And I think it's very important for us to all understand why we're in the place we're in. And what has gotten me through is the fact that this job allows me to put it in Satan's eye. That's exactly where I like to put it. So, all right, there we go. Don't be a telemarketer. You're better off the only other professions you shouldn't be besides a telemarketer is a organized crime member and a drug dealer. Anything else apparently is better than that. So, all right. Now let's turn the page here. All right, he goes on to talk about this class he had in seminary, which I have absolutely no idea what in the heck they were trying to teach these guys. But He was at Southwestern Baptist Theological University. That is a mouthful of a name right there. Southwestern Baptist Theological University. I mean, somebody's getting saved today of a name like that. So he took a class in there called evangelism. Okay. He said the first thing we had to do was memorize a gospel sharing script to recite to our victims. What an appropriate use of words. Victim. So we had to memorize this gospel sharing script to recite to our victims. What did we expect to happen with this? I don't know who thought of this, but this is the poorest of the poor idea. So, and so the opening line he quotes here, he says, "Have you come to a place in life where if you died tonight, you'd spend eternity in heaven?" I mean, where do you go from there? I mean, hey, nice to meet you. Have you come to a place in life that if you died tonight, you would go to heaven? Oh, don't you do this. Don't you do this. Did I just get kicked off? Did Satan just kick me off of YouTube? Am I still here? I had a thing pop up on my screen. Did I come back okay? Somebody tell me if I'm still here. I don't think I'm kicked off. I'm going to assume I'm still here. Okay, I'm back. All right, good. I was gone for 2 seconds there. So he says, so the first thing he remembered, sorry, I don't know where I went. I left for a minute, but I'm back. Okay, good. He says, so that's the first thing they had to do was have this conversation. The second thing they had to do then is they were to knock on the door and then they were to pray. Or actually, they were to pray first and then knock on the door. Sorry. And he says, that part I had down for real, buddy. I had a nice prayer before I knocked on the door. And my prayer was always, for God's sake, please don't let anybody be home. That's probably what I would have prayed too. So, and I'm trying to think that it says they were graded on this. It says in here they were graded on this. Yeah, Cheryl, I think Satan is always playing with my computer. Let's not kid ourselves. They were graded on this. I'm curious as to how they were graded. I mean, if the person sold all their possessions and moved into a missionary compound, is that like an A? And then a B is the person, stops being a drug dealer and upgrades to telemarketer or televangelist. I don't know. Somehow they were graded on this. I would like to see how they were graded. Just because I have morbid fascination with it, but and I think that this I think that this is why people are afraid to share their faith, because when we talk about something like that, this is what we think of. Is exactly what he describes here. Friends, I'm going to tell you right now, Pastor Tim is always going to tell you to share your faith, but I give you my word, I will never tell you to do this. This is the epitome of bad idea. This is textbook bad idea. To go up to somebody's door and ambush them with the threat of hell. We're talking about transformation of a life. I mean, that's the goal here, and I'm pretty sure somebody along the way forgot that. And look, if you want to tell me a scary story, I might change my behavior based on that, but I'm pacing it out of fear. How can you scare somebody into believing in grace? I would love for somebody to tell me how that works. God loved me enough to die on the cross in my place, to offer me grace and forgiveness so that God and I can have a relationship. What part of that story do I have to be scared with in order to buy it? And I think, yes, yes, we can start a new hashtag bad idea. That's what we got going on here. It's almost as bad as an idea as a door-to-door vacuum salesman, Scott. That's exactly right. And this is not how we win people. This is not how lives get transformed. This is not how people get changed. This is not how families get saved. This is not how it works. How do people get saved? Well, how about a pint of B negative from Val Cisco? Somebody got saved today. She saved up to 3 lives today. Are they ever going to meet Val Cisco? No, but they're going to get some Val blood, which I've heard a rumor comes with a side effect of being awesome. And look, that's a life saved, and they're never going to meet Val Cisco. I think that's great. Somebody's going to get a pint of my O positive here sometime in the next month or so. I think that's great. That's a life saved. I gave that blood in Jesus' name. He gave a whole lot more blood than that for me. So every 8 weeks, I offer him a pint a pint back. And I feel like that's me being a witness. And I don't even know the people. I don't know anything about. I don't know their spiritual connection. I don't know their race. I don't know their creed. I don't know their gender. I don't know anything about. I don't know where they live. I know nothing about them. But I care about them enough to give them my blood. And if Jesus has taught me anything, when you give someone blood, that is a gift of life. Because his blood, which is a whole lot more awesome than my O positive, it's about transforming a life. It's about preventing death. My blood will provide a temporary relief of death to somebody. Jesus's blood kind of makes that permanent, and something we really ought to think about. Now, one of the things that I really had a problem with is here toward the end of this first part is he says, I'm now on page 198. He says, I believe one of the main reasons people don't share their faith in Christ is because they don't really believe in hell. I had a little issue with this sentence. In that I think people do believe in hell. The problem is I think they misunderstand what it is. And I have a very clear image of hell. Not image. I have a very clear image is the wrong word. I have a very clear understanding of hell. Very clear. Because I've seen it and I've witnessed it. And look, the dumb little red guy with a tail and a pitchfork and the tights and the fire in a cave, that's not hell. Okay? Hell is separation from God and the elimination of hope. That's hell. And I would contend there are people living there right now, and I have a personal issue with that. I have a personal issue with people living devoid of hope. And I see it all over the place. I see a lack of hope being the number one problem in this entire world. The protesters, they're out in the streets protesting for a lack of hope. The rioters are rioting for a lack of hope. They don't have hope that something good is going to happen. All of the wokeism that goes on around the world and stuff. Look, there are bad things out there, but I think there's reason to have hope. And we need to be able to focus on those things. Yes, we need to draw attention to injustice and inequality. Absolutely, because there's no hope if we don't acknowledge that there are things out there that are not what they should be. But at the same time, we have to allow hope to reign. Hope has to be first, not somewhere so far down the line that we're never going to get there. And to me, it is that devoid of hope that puts people in hell. And I think there are people living there right now. That's why Pastor Tim is on a personal crusade against hell. I think racism puts people in hell. I think hate puts people in hell. I think mistrust puts people in hell. You can have those feelings about God, or we can have them about each other. Go read Jesus. This is what he tells us. What love one another as I have loved you. Why did he say that? It's because if we can't do that, we're in hell. Because hope is devoid. And let me tell you something. If there really is a fiery place of eternal damnation out there, the worst part of that, as bad as it's going to be, is the absence of hope. That's going to be the problem. And there are people living in that right now. They may not be in the eternal flaming fire or whatever, but look, that's God's issue, not mine. I'm telling you, God went to a great lengths to give us hope. It's what the good news is that there is hope. And to live without that, that's hell in its purest form. And there are a lot of people living there right now. They are in denial about it, but that's where they're living. And I'm talking people outside of the church. I'm talking people inside of the church. I'm talking people who maybe even be in leadership in the church who are living devoid of hope. And that is contrary to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that lack of hope, the lack of the ability to even entertain the idea that things could get better and that there's a reason to be hopeful and that God is real. Man, that's living in an awful place. And I think that we as believers who have embraced the hope, in spite of the chaos we live in, who have embraced this hope, we need to be out there helping people see the light, saint and sinner alike, and to be able to embrace that hope that only the grace of God can give. I can do a little bit, but the pint of blood that I gave today, it's only going to give people hope for a short while. But I have access to a hope that can last a heck of a long time, and that's what we need to be doing. That's why it is so important to be on or that's why I guess I should just speak for myself. I'm on a one-man crusade against despair, because I think despair is what hell is. The flaming fire and all that stuff. Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad, but it's the absence of hope that makes it so bad. Yeah. Yep, that's what we're all hoping for. To give something give people a reason to have hope. I mean, that's why we do what we do. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. To go do whatever it is I do. And I think it's very important for us to realize that as believers, our number one, and I dare say probably our only calling from God. Now, it may take more specific forms for different people, but our number one calling is about being owners and distributors of hope to everyone, regardless. And if our actions and our activities and our giving and all our things, if that's not giving hope to people, then we're not doing it right. Way back 3 months ago when this COVID-19 thing started, I said, God, help me find a way to give hope to the people of your church here. And immediately we went to online services and started this live stream. And that's why we do these things. And I just really, it's really important for me for people to find the back door and get out of hell. And the only way that can happen is hope. The people who have hope are physically incapable of being in hell. If the kingdom is within us, then I agree that not having accepted Christ would be full of hopelessness. I think you got a word out of order there, but I think I understand. Yeah, I mean that's what Christ died to give to us, is the hope, and that's I mean, that was a tremendous price to be paid, and that's why hope is the way this works. It's the only way that this works. And that's why the question that Craig goes on to ask here on page 199 is, he says, are we living as lights in a dark world? I mean, that's back to what Val just said here about let your light shine. And, our job is to be beacons of hope. Beacons of hope light things up. And I hope and pray that's what we do. We come here to Wayne Street or whatever church we're affiliated with, or we have worship, or we're on the live stream and having these conversations. My hope is, and my prayer is that you guys are filled up with hope, so that as you're interacting with people throughout the rest of the day, you're going to bump into somebody and they're going to have a hopeful experience because of you. And if I can facilitate that and make Satan angry in the process, that's nothing but gravy for me, folks. That's just me being me. And I love that. That's me at my best. If I can give you a sermon or facilitate some kind of insane something or other that I'm trying to pull off, and in the midst of that, inspire you and inspire you to inspire somebody else. Mission accomplished. Yeah. Maybe some people don't grasp the reality of God or Satan. No, I'm quite sure that's true, Teresa. Dante's quote about hell. How did I miss that one? That's right. Abandon all hope, all ye who enter here. And that's exactly right, because you will be blocked from walking through the door if they sense hope in you. If you have hope, the door won't open, and that's very important. So I agree, Teresa. Many people believe the devil is a fictional character. We beg to differ with him. Yeah, I don't generally want to kill fictional characters, and that's true. The light is the only thing to replace the darkness in the world. Jesus is light through us. Yes. Understand that we don't turn on the dark. Once the light comes on, the darkness must flee. Despair is the same way. You turn the hope on, the despair must flee. That doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect, but hope is a choice, and hope is an experience. And, again, we as believers need to be living our lives and conducting ourselves in just such a way that we'll shine the light into people's, darkness. And if we can get a light to shine in them, no matter how dim it is, they are immune to hell because there's hope there. And that's what we're looking for. So, look, my friends, go from this place, and everybody you meet, give them the hell inoculation. It's called hope. That's what we're going to go give. It doesn't matter if the person is 5 minutes from death or if they were born 5 minutes ago. Makes no difference. Hope is the great inoculator against death. I mean, the great inoculator against hell. That's what I meant. It is not, you are not capable. You will be denied access to hell if you have hope. Just like you will be not denied access to darkness if there's a light on. It's the same. It's the exact same principle. That's why Jesus, and it was all about giving hope. To the sick person on the street, the blind person on the street, what did he give them? Yeah, he healed them, but in the process of doing so, he gave them hope. He made them immune to hell, and I think that's a great thing. All right, as normal, we didn't get to near what I wanted to tonight, so let's turn over a few pages. We're going to put a pin in it here. If there's any of you who were able to read that and all that we're about to skip, if there's something there you wanted to hit on, we'll do that tomorrow night. I'm turning over to page 204. There's a subtitle there that says, invite someone to church. Highly recommend that, by the way. Invite somebody to church, and right now, it is literally the easiest time in the history of our planet to invite somebody to church, because all they got to do is click on a YouTube link and they can be there. So that may not be as awesome as actually being present. I'm working on that, but that's what it's about. But friends, our job is to build up herd immunity to hell. That's what we do. All these terms that we've learned through COVID-19 actually work here. Don't quarantine yourself from hope. Quarantine yourself from viruses. That's a really good idea, but not from hope. And that's a choice. So awesome. Hey, this was a good discussion tonight. I kind of had a feeling this would be a good discussion tonight when I read the chapter earlier today. I had a feeling this was going to be a good one because there's a lot of meat in this chapter, I felt like. But that's where we'll start tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to pick up on page 204, invite someone to church. So that's where we're going tomorrow night. So, all right. Thanks, Joyce. Yes, Amy, thank you. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Makes YouTube be friendlier to us. Thank you, Mike and Tina. I'm glad you enjoyed the discussion. I certainly did too. Val, that does not surprise me to learn that you enjoy inviting people and strangers to church. I do not find that surprising in any way. Miriam, thank you. And thank you for the Lucky Charms bars that came to my office today. I don't know when you dropped them off, but I just got them today. So thank you for sharing those with me. I will put them to good use. So yes, thanks, Eric. Glad you're here. Appreciate it. Hey, Jan, appreciate it. Well, as I said, we will probably pare these evenings discussions down. Probably not going to be having them every night. We're going to have them for the rest of this week till we finish this book. But from there, we may go a little more periodic because I think we need a little break in between. So I don't know exactly how often. I haven't decided how often we're going to do it yet, but we are going to cut it down to just a couple days a week probably. So after this, but we'll still have them because now that we have this format, I'm not going to give it up. So we're still going to be here. So awesome. All right. Well, anybody else got anything for the good of the order? Anybody got anything they want to share before we knock off here tonight? Well, that water is nasty. Yeah. Sweet dreams to you, Val. Thanks for coming out. All right, everybody. Well, I want you all to go have a great night's sleep. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I am just humbled that all of you are coming out to do this. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the great discussion. I hope that you learn at least half as much from me as I learned from you. And thank you for your prayers, Amy. I appreciate that. I love you guys all very much. I always look forward to spending this time with you. Have a great night's sleep. Have some super sweet dreams. And now y'all know what you need to go do. Go wash your hands.